Greetings and welcome to the Supply Drop, episode 52, a game podcast created by the Phoebe, the Monica, and the Rachel of game podcasts. My name is Nate. I'll be your host. I'm joined by two other co-hosts, the first of which is Scott.
Hello, everybody.
Scott, what is the most summer thing you've done this summer?
I saw Indiana Jones.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Now, when did that happen?
That was Friday night. Yeah.
Well, what's the verdict?
I liked it. I enjoyed it.
You did like it?
Yeah. Helena Shaw should have never been in it. I can't stand her, and she's horrible. But the movie itself was, I mean, it's a action movie with, Harrison Ford. It's got plot holes. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's an Indiana Jones movie. So it didn't ruin my childhood like, Star Wars. So we're good.
All right. Any scene that's as iconic as the fridge scene in Crystal Skull?
Yeah, there actually is a couple.
Is there really?
Yeah, I won't spoil anything, but
okay.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. My wife went to go see it, and it was me and her, and then another couple of similar age, and that was it. That was the only people in the theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and of course, we were leaving the theater. You can tell all four of us enjoyed it. So. But yeah, it was good. I was really worried about it, but
that's interesting. I guess there's two other big movies that came out this weekend, right? So
Oppenheimer and Barbie. Did Barbie come out?
Barbenheimer.
Barbenheimer.
Did you see? There's like one person named Barbheimer on Facebook, and then someone says she's having a bad week.
God,
she's getting tagged nonstop online.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I think Christopher Nolan should make the next Indiana Jones movie. There we go.
Hey, that guy's talented. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably understand it less than I did this one because it didn't make a lot of sense. But anyway.
All right, that other voice you heard is none other than Thick.
Hello.
Thick, welcome back. I have a specific question to ask you.
Ask away.
Thick, can you tell us the degree of certainty you have when assessing a multiplayer game's market potential? See what I did,
degree
Scott?
of certainty.
Yes.
Well, I would say,
yeah. If you play a multiplayer game, can you be like, this is going to be a hit? This is going to be a hit. I
would say I have probably maybe 80%, because so something like there's some curveballs that are kind of hard to predict, but yeah, I would say 80%.
All right, so you're fairly confident. I don't like that answer, but it was a truthful answer. I could tell it in your eyes. I could tell you're speaking the truth.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things where I'm surprised it's still around, like Roller Champions. Good game for what it was.
That game's still around. Chugging?
Yeah.
It has Jet Set Radio Future collab, I think. That's
right.
Recently. So, it is actually good on Ubisoft that they continue to support it despite what people say, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
That was a good question. How come I'm getting like Fisher Price questions?
Guys, what's your favorite color? I am trying my hardest over here. All right. I need I need positive feedback.
Okay. Are we gonna ask you a question now?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Scott a math question next week, and he's not gonna like it.
Never mind.
Yeah,
Forget I said anything.
Okay.
Before we get started, I want to remind listeners they can drop us a comment, question, or insult at the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel. Scott, tell everyone how your week went.
Have you ever given a dog hydrogen peroxide so that he throws up an entire bar of chocolate? Because I did.
That happened?
Yeah. That was
like
fun.
A bad video game.
Yeah, that would be I don't know, or maybe a good one. But he's fine. Everything's good. But yeah, not the best. But on the flip side of that, I did notice that. There's an awful lot of YouTubers that play Halo. And last week, we talked about the Halo kind of...
Dig site.
Yeah, Dig site and doing that. And there seems to be a resurgence of the Master Chief Collection. Not Infinite, But the Master Chief Collection is actually sliding back up in Steam. The multiplayer is getting big. There's more mods that are coming out. So I've been playing an awful lot of Halo, and just to kind of dip back into the multiplayer and see what's going on. I'm still not that great. I'm better at Infinite than the older ones for some reason.
Really?
And then other than that, I went back and I did pre-order, which is, Vic kind of talked me into it. The Remnant 2, which I don't normally pre-order, but I got a deal on it, and so I've been playing the first one to kind of get familiar with it again. And man, that game's hard. I mean, I'm soloing it, so it's a lot easier with other people. But yeah, I'm kind of excited about Remnant 2. But Remnant 1 is on PC. I haven't played on PC yet. I've been playing on Xbox and on PC. It's actually better. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
Are you guys both day one on Remnant 2?
Yeah, I pre-ordered.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I mean, because I played the original on Game Pass specifically, and I didn't buy it before. I saw the reviews and everything, but then once I started playing it, I really enjoyed it. And then when I revisited it recently, I appreciated the little things they did more, like the real good sound design, decent gunplay. I think they improved upon it.
Yeah.
And like the loop is good. I think the loop that they achieve is unique to the game. There's really no other game that really does that. So I thought I'd buy it to kind of support them. Support them at launch.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first one. So this looks like they've either changed or fixed a lot of the issues that people had with the first one, and made it a little bit more fun. And of course, the environments look amazing. So, but it's I'm getting it on PC, so let's hope the performance is not garbage.
Oh yeah. So we did hear that it was getting 30 FPS for Xbox Series S, but like there is 60 FPS for everything else.
Everyone else.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
I did watch, after you guys were incessantly talking about it in the Discord, I did watch about 20 seconds of a story trailer. It was just Ryan Reynolds dialogue.
Yeah, no. Watch the gameplay trailers. The story trailer. They're not too fantastic on stories, but the gameplay
I think unanimously the story is just, I guess, it's not the focus, basically, right?
Yeah.
So,
I also played there's a game that came out before that's actually like a prequel to Remnant. I want to say it was called.
I don't remember.
Chronos, something like that. Something Chronos.
Before the Ashes, Chronos Before the Ashes.
Yeah, thank you. And it was a VR title, but they converted it to Xbox and PlayStation and PC. And actually like that game too. It's kind of a Souls-like, but it's a little bit more forgiving. Yeah. And it's puzzle. There's more puzzles to it than there is, just like boss battles and stuff like that.
That one's a little janky.
It is.
I didn't really get too far.
The controls can really mess you up. And then there was some bugs that, like, I jumped off a 2-foot ledge and it killed me. It wasn't supposed to, but it's a little janky, but I enjoyed it. But it is kind of it has an interesting basis of like every time you die, you age a year. Yeah. So you go from like this kind of like 19, 20-ish person to if you just continuously die, you get to where you're older. Now, your like dexterity and speed and everything start to slow, but your intellect and everything goes up. So it's kind of like
Is this Sifu?
No. It's kind of like Sifu, isn't
Does Sifu do that?
Yeah, Sifu does do that.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that. I haven't played that
Scott,
yet.
what is this game again?
It's Chronos Before the Ashes. It's like a prequel to Remnant.
Yeah, it's been out for a while, so it's definitely before Sifu.
Okay, I gotcha.
It's in the same universe.
That's cool.
I don't know if it's tied into it somehow. I don't know.
So Scott, it's a roguelike. You should have told me that in the beginning. You're right.
I don't know why I missed that. I think because I just remembered that when you die,
right,
you come back a year older. But anyway,
well, it sounds like that was some good and some bad that week.
Yeah,
this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, thick. Can you
Yes.
do any better than Scott? Did you have a better week than Scott?
That would be easy.
It is a really busy week, so I was hoping to get more game time in. I know I got into the closed beta for Motorfest. Only played a little bit. All I can say really is it looks pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
and like it handles better than the older Crew games.
Okay.
So yeah, the Crew Motorfest. Sorry, I didn't say the full name.
Mhm.
So I didn't get too far in it. I want to try my wheel with it, which I'll try a little bit later this week. What I did play a lot earlier in the week was Exo Primal. I don't know
Oh,
if you,
interesting.
yeah, I don't know if you guys had the chance to.
I,
Do you have an opinion on it
I
so
played a
far?
little bit of it.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, I couldn't really, it didn't grab me.
Yeah,
It seemed to have an
I definitely
identity
see that.
crisis. Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure what kind of game this is supposed to be. Afterwards, I read a couple of things, and I'm not alone in that.
Yeah. I think it does a very poor job to kind of push you forward because it's basically multiplayer only, and it's a $60 title. I think those are two major things that just already deter people. Plus, it seems very repetitive. But from hearing other people talk about it, because like, was it? I think IGN gave it a pretty good score.
Of
That
course.
it starts to open up after like a certain point to where it's a little bit crazier from what I hear. Like they add more enemies, they add more objectives. There's like a 10-player raid instead of a competition in the end, like where both teams fight together. So just to peel back a little bit, the premise is it's a multiplayer game where you're mostly racing against each other, and then the very last round it could be pure PvE or it could be a little bit PvP PvE.
So
Um,
two teams are racing against each other.
yeah, like
Okay.
there's this annoying thing though where it tells you, oh, the other team is doing faster or slower than you. It tells you every single round. It's a little
Yeah.
annoying,
Yeah.
not the worst. But
I was playing
and it
Gambit.
feels. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It does actually. That's what it reminded me of. Like
Yeah.
it definitely reminded me of Gambit a little bit. It's just the like you have the opportunity to pick up this item, which lets you go to the other side as a dinosaur and then fight the other team.
Yeah.
But it's really clunky. Like it just doesn't feel good to me. I don't,
Mm.
or like when I tried it in a tutorial, I actually didn't do it in a real match yet because other people just. Um, but I'm trying to kind of power through what is supposed to be a very repetitive beginning to see what happens. For a multiplayer game, they have a very they add a lot of cutscenes. like
Ugh.
it seems like there's like a lot of story. Like it's a little bit of fluff, but I think it's actually developing because the premise of it is you're in these war games, and this AI is trying to get analytical data, right? And after a certain point, like when you start doing a certain amount of games, like it opens up, and I want to try to get to that point and see what happens. Like some people say, "Oh, you got to play up to that point." Now, I think most people get bored before that point, but you know me, I will. What's it? What's the word where you kind of like just beat up yourself
Pers-
and you?
pers- oh. Uh,
I'm
I
not. I'm
guess
not sure.
persevere
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, I'll persevere through it. So
Yeah.
I will do that, and I guess I'll report back if anything. But
Thick.
Yeah.
Thick. Can I ask you a question about this?
yes.
Um. Do you have to talk to your teammates in it? Does it? Does
No.
it help? It does not even help.
Honestly, like if you just know what the objective
Then
is,
you can just be
you
quiet.
can you can just be quiet. Like honestly, like there's a lot of stuff in it that's just kind of fluff. Like battle pass, don't care. The mechs look cool. Like it looks like Anthem level cool, but they don't
Really?
feel like Anthem level cool.
Yeah.
Um, I mean that's
How many hours have you played this game?
probably like 3, not too
All right.
far.
All
So
right.
like if it takes like a lot of time for people, yeah, I see most people won't get to whatever is supposed to be in the meat of the game, right? So
What platform? Xbox or PC?
mostly Xbox. I played it on PC, but through xCloud because I didn't feel like installing like was it like 50 gigs?
Yeah, it was 50 gigs, and of course you have to make a Capcom
Yeah,
account, and
that's
yeah, that
another
was,
barrier of entry. So
Yeah, in the first when I downloaded and I clicked on it, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. But then later I thought, well, what if this ends up being like a really cool game that I'm going to be playing the rest of the summer? It did not, but I did that. But yeah, it just seems to be, to me, it was, it has that, and I know how this sounds, but it's got that kind of goofy Japanese storyline of where, you know, you've got the annoying character, and then you've got the robot character, and then you've got the other character that's super serious, and it's just seems to be just like a mix that they use in every game.
Are those called tropes? Are those tropes?
I would guess you would call it
less,
tropes, or maybe just you know, rehashed characters. I mean, they just felt like the same characters from every game, every Capcom action game that I've played. Like those are the same characters from what is it? Binary, the third person. God dang.
I think you're. What's it? Yeah, actually, I can't remember.
Something binary, but
I know what you're talking about.
It was kind of like
Binary
their Gears of War game, right? Yeah, it's like the exact same characters from that. So, yeah, that kind of turns me off too, because it's not. It doesn't have to be super serious, but at least, you know, take the character design and character development a little more serious than just throwing in the random, or not random, but the same, you know, characters from every other game that you've made.
Yeah, I do feel they do try to at least, like, it's detailed. Like, it's a good use of the RE engine, like how they look.
Yeah, it looked good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it could come out. If this was free to play, I would have a different opinion about it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
$60 game test.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing on
price,
Game Pass,
yeah.
but still, you know.
So Scott's big takeaway is more character development in my multiplayer game, please.
Maybe not character development, but, you know, developing of the characters before you make the game. But you know what I'm not like the character. Just use the terminology can be used either way, but not within the game story, but like just developing the characters that you're putting in the game. Yeah.
I guess Overwatch has some characterization.
Oh yeah,
right?
I mean they all have like a backstory and they're all varied. And
you
they're
you can access it if you want to, but you don't have to.
right.
Yeah,
right.
and it's done very well. Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, so Thick, that was your week?
Mostly, I did start Pikmin 4. I'm not too far in it. I'm like, mostly I'm still around like the same amount that was in the demo. So I'll talk about it later. I'm actually playing more of that than what's that other game? Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
You know, I'll point out real quick. Pikmin 1 was actually my first console game that I bought, so I do have a slight bias towards it.
And you probably
no
put a lot of
favorite.
time into it.
Yeah. I remember like I walked like, I don't know, like 2 miles to go to Kmart, and I
Really?
spent $50 on Pikmin. And this, so like, it has a little memory tied to it, so you know, I have a little bias against it.
How was that walk home? That's just grueling. Like
Yeah, it was a little grueling.
like,
It was
I
pretty
need-
hot too.
yeah. It's like I got
Trying
my
to think
favorite game.
when did that come out? Like 2002?
2001.
2001. Okay.
Oh yeah, it was a launch title for GameCube.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Oh,
yeah, GameCube. GameCube was awesome.
That was when Shigeru, how do you say it? Miyamoto?
Miyamoto.
Miyamoto. That's when he was like, I was gardening and I decided to create a game based off of my gardening, right?
It was actually there's actually a lot of good interviews recently just to kind of like, you know, hype up the game, and it reveals a lot of interesting stuff about the original Pikmin. I mean, I could probably link it to you guys. It's a lot of stuff, but yeah.
I thought I heard on a podcast this week that Shigeru Miyamoto.
Okay.
All right. I thought he said that something like he doesn't know why players think that the Pikmin franchise is a difficult franchise. Would you agree that it's kind of a harder game?
It's definitely harder. I guess, you know, a lot of people are calling Pikmin 4 a cozy game, which
that's the opposite of difficult, right?
Yeah, I kind of see it a little bit, like maybe like a 40% cozy game, but it's still it's definitely easier. I'll tell you that much than the original Pikmin. Like the original Pikmin was doesn't have the quality of life stuff that 4 has.
Is there a Forza Horizon rewind button in this?
It's not the same type. It's more like it auto saves every like maybe 4 or 5 minutes.
Oh,
so
I like that.
you'll peel back. You know, like you can rewind time back for that duration.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, looking forward to hearing your thoughts once you get some more time in on that. I heard the demo is very like it's teaching you a lot in that demo.
Yeah, and it's pretty robust. Like if
Really?
you just play it, if you're ever curious on Pikmin, just play that, and it gives you a good idea of what the game's about.
Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. Well, unlike you guys, I didn't do my homework this week as far as playing any games. All right. I think what I'm planning on doing at this point is I'm a month away from Armored Core 6. So my reticule system is kind of targeting that as the next game I'm
You're gonna buy it.
for.
You're gonna buy
I think I'm a day one on that. I'm thinking I am, yeah.
Day one disc.
Oh heck no! I cannot be bothered.
Yeah.
I cannot be bothered to.
No.
You know,
Push a
Like
button
the
and,
picture.
and put in a disc. God, that's just so.
yeah. I want to do everything
Archaic.
right here, right in my hands.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did see a movie called Oppenheimer. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to review the movie because there's way more talented people who are reviewing the movie. But I do want to bring up 3 points to my experience watching the movie. Okay.
Okay.
Point number 1: the movie started 30 minutes after showtime. 30 full minutes
Huh?
after showtime. Previews, just nonstop previews.
30 minutes of previews.
Yes. Maybe it was like 27 minutes of previews, but it was.
Yeah, but
it was,
still, I mean,
Yeah.
it should be like 5, 6, maybe.
Well, I think what they're doing now is they're like, no, we want to advertise these movies to
Yeah,
our
but
full audience.
Isn't Oppenheimer like a 3-hour movie?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Way to respect your time. Yeah.
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 Another thing I didn't like about it is, like, do you remember 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, you'd watch a particular type of movie and it would feed you previews of kind of those types of movies?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting like, I'm getting movies that I have no interest in seeing, like kids movies, family movies. I'm like, we're all here to see Oppenheimer. We're not here to see Haunted Mansion, which is like a G-rated. It feels like a G-rated.
Saw
like,
that one, Indiana Jones.
Yeah. So I feel like it's like maybe just the movie industry is so like kind of small at this point that they're like just keep feeding people whatever we think is going to be big, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of hurting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went on. Here's point number 2. I went matinee show. Tickets cost $14 after tax. I have to get in the back row J. Okay. Now this theater that I go into was built within the last 20 years. This is a very modern theater. This is a big AMC. Okay. In front of me, there's a safety glass that's literally taking up a quarter of my screen.
Huh?
Safety glass.
For what?
I'm assuming for liability in case you fall over and fall down into the next row.
Okay.
Wow.
But I'm like, these are kind of pricey tickets to have that kind of annoyance in front of you.
Yeah. That's
So
yeah. I would not enjoy that.
no, I did notice like so I'm at the last row, so I'm kind of looking down at the screen, and all the lower rows are more looking up, so they all have safety glass, but they're not getting it.
And they all have neck problems.
They all have neck problems.
Yeah.
I don't.
Did you-
Look at my neck. Look at this neck.
Yeah.
Did you have
Yeah.
the reclining seats like the?
Oh yeah, they have the big comfy seats.
We
Yeah.
had those at Indiana Jones, and like I said, it was me and my wife and this other couple, and it was completely empty. And of course, where did this other couple buy their seats?
Yeah, right next to you.
Right next to us.
Well,
yeah.
they chose not even one seat buffer.
No, just
Oh,
right
really?
next to us. Yeah.
Well, you
And
clearly.
they stayed there the whole time?
Yeah, well, I did because I was there first. When you buy your seats, it shows like what seats are available, right? So
Okay.
we bought our seats. So these people had to come in behind us and go, all of these seats, no, right next to those people.
Yeah.
So I don't get
Ma-
that.
You should have
Maybe-
got up and moved.
What is it? They thought more people would show up, so they're being nice and
They were
filling in the
late.
gaps.
They were there right when the movie started.
Oh, okay. So they bought their tickets right there.
Yeah. So they knew. They didn't know what
Okay.
they were doing.
This is an aside question. Row J was my last row, so that's 10 rows, right?
Yeah.
Where do you go? Do you try to go row 5? Do you try to go a little behind the middle, a little in front of the middle?
I really just try to get in centered if I
Center.
can,
Yeah,
because
center.
with new seating now in the theaters, there's like less seats,
Right.
but there's not really a bad seat anymore.
Yeah.
So I just try to get kind of in the middle and go from there. We have an IMAX theater here too, and if you get too far over on the side, it starts to kind of look, a little weird,
fish-eyed.
Yeah, and it's just really like characters like this tall, and then they walk across the screen, and now they're this tall. But other than that, you can't really get a bad seat.
Mm-hmm. All right, my last point here. Movie's great. I think it's probably one of his better movies, like top 5 Nolan movie in my opinion. But here's the thing: so this is a serious movie about like humanity and like weapons of mass destruction. It's like a somber kind of movie. As soon as you walk out of that movie theater, you're on your phone, you're checking whatever, everyone just checks their phone, and then they're in the movie theater, all the bright lights. I feel like, am I crazy in thinking like 20 years ago, you'd go walk to your car, you'd think about the movie on the way home, you'd be like contemplating it. Now it's just like, dude, as soon as you're out of that room, you're hit with like stimulus.
Yeah. It's like you took that experience and just tossed it away, and you're back to. I remember there's 2 movies that I remember going to, and I guess we're turning this into a movie podcast for just a second. Saving Private Ryan. Going to see that movie. Actually 3 now that I think about it. But that and Schindler's List. Okay, so both of those movies, those were a packed theater. Leaving that theater with both of those movies, it was completely silent. I mean, I remember just nobody said a word. I mean, it was not chatter. It was not, it was like the funeral's over, right? And everybody gets up. It was very, very kind of chilling, Some people were crying. So the other one was the Blair Witch Project. And my wife and I went to go see it. And I was excited because I knew what it was. I was like, this is a movie where they find footage. Yeah. And they made a movie like that. I got to see this. This was like the first one, right? So we go to watch it, and of course it was great. I mean, it was a new kind of concept and everything. So when we were leaving, there was a lady that was crying, and I was like trying to listen, and she was like, "Oh my God, those poor kids."
Oh wow.
I'm like, and I looked around, I'm like, oh my God, these people think that this was real. Like this was a real, found footage.
I feel like I remember part of the marketing was like they were trying to get people to think it was real.
They were, but when they were, I saw on Entertainment Tonight the interviews of the people that were in it. I mean, so it's like they didn't try too hard, but I think everybody in the theater like really thought like, oh my God, that's terrible. I'm like, anyway. Yeah. So those are very memorable, but I know exactly what you mean. Now when you leave a theater, there's no discussion. Nobody even seems to be talking about it. Like they just leave like, where are we going now? Or, oh, I gotta go do my TikToks. I don't know.
Before I leave this topic, I want to ask Thick one last question. Thick, in the next 12 months, how many times are you going to go to the movie theater?
Honestly, probably. I don't have an idea if I'm going anytime recent.
Yeah.
What was the last movie you went to?
Shoot, I'm trying to remember at this point.
Has it been a while?
It's been a while, yeah, to be honest. Like, I haven't really gone to the movies for a while. I'll have to get back to you on that. Well, but I did have a question. Did you guys like Cloverfield? Because that's another shaky cam video.
Yes. Yeah.
I
saw that at the theater. Yeah. But you don't know until the end. You don't know what it is until the very end. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that was solid. That was solid. I thought it was real. The whole time.
Yeah.
Those poor children.
Yeah. All right, before we kick things off, let's go to our listener feedback segment. Here's where listeners of the Supply Drop participate in the discussion by going to the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel and dropping a question, comment, or devastating insult. Let's go over to our listener feedback correspondent, Thick, and see what he has in store for us this week.
I ran the analytics, and I don't seem to see any. I'm hoping you guys, because it's been a little bit buggy lately.
Yeah, the analytics on the comments, they're not correct. But I did go to our last several ones. Nobody's left a comment, so not that I saw.
We can all agree that Bob's son Doug Nutt is our least favorite, our least favorite listener we've ever had. We can agree with that, right?
No, probably our
least
it's better.
Favorite bot.
Favorite bot.
Yeah, what's the other guy? I forgot. Hanner
that other guy, who's like promotes social media, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Guys, this week's listener feedback segment was brought to you by Lou Bega. Pick up a little bit of mambo wherever you buy your music. Thanks for sponsoring the show, Lou Bega.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gone platinum.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Guys, once again, it's harder getting these sponsors,
Yeah, they're not willing to, put that money up.
Bega. Yeah. All right, let's go to the drop, segment of our podcast where we talk about last week's most intriguing news stories. Scott, what intrigued you this week?
Bobby Kotick intrigues me. He said, now everybody, when this ABK thing came across, that was the big question: is Bobby staying? Are they going to kick him out? Or what's going on with him? So according to GameSpot, this is what he says. So Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick has indicated that he is willing to stay after Microsoft's potential acquisition for whatever length of time he is needed. In an interview with CNBC, Bobby Kotick said, "I've committed to Microsoft for as long or as little as they need me for the integration." That said, Kotick is on contract until April 2024, which means he will likely remain during the the process of going through everything. Basically, what he said is like he works for the shareholders, so whatever the shareholders want him to do. I'm hoping that after the investigation of no evidence of harassment being ignored by management came about when Activision did their own investigation in their own company, I think he needs to go. But this is the official statement. We'll have to wait and see. But what do you guys think about the Kotick sticking around for a while?
I mean, I kind of expected him to be there for a little bit because people expected him to get axed immediately, but which I didn't see happening.
No, I wouldn't think they would just go in and just he's got to have some kind of presence. He's got to sign paperwork, basically, is what it is. So that could take months, but I think he's got to go. I think that's just for PR and the promises that they made to the Activision Blizzard employees to make a better work environment if this did go through. That's the first, on the list. Yeah.
So you guys know how I like to kind of when I hear the crowd saying something, like everyone hates Kotick, I'm like, okay, let me dive into the details. Why does everyone hate him, right? I did that with J.K. Rowling. So I looked into the issue of Bobby Kotick, and it sounds like it boils down to a couple of different topics. Number one is he's like a Western. What's his title?
He's
CEO.
CEO, yeah.
So he makes an insane amount of money, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like right now in games media, and this I don't even have a value judgment on this. It just feels like people in games just can't stand CEOs making a lot of money, which is
I think that's just across the board, right? Like if you ever
right.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of epitomizes like the old old Baron with the mustache and the cigar and whether he does or not. I mean, we won't know that. We only go by whatever the games media kind of digs up.
I feel like the people want him out mostly because of he represents, kind of.
Yeah, I think it's just a smart PR move. But I mean, business wise, he's obviously doing something right.
Yeah.
I mean, as evil as he is perceived, if he came up to me and go, "Hey, buy this stock," I would be like, "Okay."
Right.
So he knows what he's doing. That's what's going to keep him there. But he also gets a fat check if he leaves.
It goes $400 million, right?
Yeah. So that he can retire, or he can just go do something that makes more money. Which is probably what he'll do.
It's pretty much regardless of what happens, he still kind of wins. It's just that
he wins either way.
The public gets their justice porn, is what they call it, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, so I feel like it's two issues though. So one is just he's a CEO, makes a ton of money. The other one, and I tried digging as much into this as I could. Long story short, it does sound like he threatened an employee I think it was on a plane. He said, "I'm going to kill you" to someone that works for him.
He said that he was rich and he would make them disappear.
Okay. So so I can't believe I'm going to defend this person, right? But everyone needs their fair
Yeah.
defense before. I feel like you can, I've said crazy things to people, like
Oh, yeah.
in context, in jest, you don't know the relationship between the two people. So I tend to say, like, even though he said those words, perhaps there was some context missing that certain gaming media doesn't care about. Like,
Yeah.
all they care about is like, okay, we caught you.
There's quite a possibility. There's always a possibility for those things, right?
Right.
So, I mean, game media is already kind of against them anyways, so
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's less scenarios where that is like a good thing to say though. So
Yeah, it's just like, there's certain senses of humor, right? Like,
Yeah,
people have
yeah.
like dark senses of humor, and I'm not even saying like he absolutely could have said this in the most insane way possible.
yeah,
But there's also a reality where he could have said it in
I
I'm
think
a
what
funny guy.
matters in the end is
Yeah.
how the other person interprets it, right? That's generally
Well,
how.
That is true, but
Yeah.
you also interpret things the way, like, okay, if I interpret it this way, can I get paid? Right? So if
Some
someone's
people
just
might be like that, yeah.
yeah, and I to me, I'm just like, it's such it's an issue that where really nobody knows all the details. So I'm like, why
Yeah.
are we passing judgment?
Oh,
it ju-
I mean, you know why people pass judgment because
Well, right, because we're
right?
living in the modern era where
Yeah.
mob definitely rules. But I did look up. It sounds like did he buy Activision? I thought I read he bought Activision in the late '90s when it was like near bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't doing good. It sounds like he played a pivotal role in building it up to become the most successful
Yeah.
third party.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
that guy knows, he's a strategic thinker, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, the way I form all my opinions is if Jason Schreier thinks something, I'm thinking the opposite.
Yeah, there you
You
go.
know what I'm saying? But I actually don't. I'm not making a judgment on him one way or the other. I just feel like we don't need to bury everyone that Twitter tells us to bury, right? But
No, but it's definitely it was a question that everybody wanted to know: is he staying or is he going?
right, for sure.
And I wanted to kind of hear his take on like what was his plans, and this is the first time he's commented on it. And also, who is going to play him in the HBO miniseries about ABK?
Paul Giamatti,
Ooh, perfect.
a young Paul Giamatti.
I don't have an answer for that, but you guys got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
Or maybe what's his name? The Superbad. What's his
Superman. Jonah Hill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see that.
Yeah, he's probably, they could just age him a little bit,
Yeah.
You massage him a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it's like an Oscar bait movie, like it's like a period piece where they're really trying to go for like
It's the next Oppenheimer, so.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they could
Exactly.
start with like the decline of Atari and then
Yeah.
go to the ABK. That would be
Maybe
awesome.
the role is filled by 3 different actors, for 3
Yeah.
different time
you could do
periods.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Scott, was that your only news story this week?
No, I had a quick one, and this is a little self-indulgent because I am of that era. But there is a Snake Eyes game in the works, which is, if you don't know, that's the G.I. Joe character that doesn't talk, wears a mask, and is a complete ninja. So, U.S. developer Atomic Arcade, led by ex-Warner Brothers developer Ames Kirshen, I'm guessing this right. According to IGN, it said he's moved to come from the concept phase into the pre-production phase on a AAA G.I. Joe Snake Eyes game. They always say it's a AAA game, but sometimes if they say it's a AAA game, it's really not. But I don't care.
Yeah.
And this comes from the Wizards of the Coast, which is, of course, if that's puzzling you, they're owned by Hasbro, which owns G.I. Joe. So. So I just think that could make an interesting, like a Splinter Cell type action game.
Does he use guns at all?
He does. He uses everything.
He does.
Anything within a 3-foot radius. Yeah, he can use it. A very interesting character. Nothing really out of the G.I. Joe era, but Marvel Comics played a big hand in just really fleshing that character out into something very interesting. And then his relationship with, Oh, it doesn't say it here. I can't remember his name. The other ninja. Storm Shadow. Yeah. The rival, and I'm assuming that he's going to be in the game as well. So
Is Snake Eyes a good guy?
yes,
Storm Shadow's the bad guy?
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
I
tell
have not
because
seen
Snake Eyes
G.I.
wears
Joe in a
black
while.
and Storm Shadow wears white.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But it looks like they did have a Snake Eyes movie. I didn't see it. It looked really bad, but it looks like has nothing to do with the character that Marvel made because
Really?
yeah, a very different character. And they talk about why. I mean, they tell you why he wears a mask and why he can't talk. And anyway, just a very interesting concept for a game from a developer that I know nothing about, and we'll just have to wait and see how terrible it is.
So,
Oh, go ahead, Thick. Go ahead.
was it Hasbro? Do they own Hot Wheels?
Now that's Mattel, right?
Okay. So
Yeah, I think
Do
that's
they have a
Mattel.
competitor? Do they have a competitor to Hot Wheels? Micro Machines?
There's Matchbox.
that's
Are
not
those still
Matchbox.
around? I don't even know if those are still around.
Matchboxes are still around.
Are they? Okay. That's the only
so.
competitor I can think of. Hot Wheels
Okay.
apparently is ginormous still.
It's doing well,
Yeah.
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 Thick, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What was the first cartoon you got into as a youngin?
I think
G.I.
He-Man.
Joe. Oh, so He-Man. So I feel
He-Man,
like He-Man
yeah.
and G.I. Joe, they were around at the same time.
Yeah, I never really got into G.I. Joe. I think maybe the large cast at that time was a little intimidating. I don't know. I don't remember. But I know I just got into He-Man just because of, his whole line and then like the power up, I always kind of
Oh, yeah.
I guess did that. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Scott, can you tell us real quick, what is G.I. Joe about? Like, it's a military organization who's trying to take over the world, and then G.I. Joe's trying to stop them.
Yeah,
that
G.I. Joe
basically
is made up of the best of the best from every country.
Yeah.
So you
Oh,
have
it is?
yeah. So
The
you have-
original Overwatch.
yeah, exactly. Or Rainbow Six. That's another,
Yeah,
kind of. It's probably where Tom Clancy got the idea.
That's
but
kind of cool. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. The original ones, of course, the original ones. There was only one GI Joe, and then there was added ones. But then it didn't really. It really kicked off in the '80s when they had 4 or 5 characters. And then they just added, and oh my God, it just
Became the whole universe.
yeah, and that's what Thick's talking about. It's kind of intimidating having all of those characters because there was, hundreds of them. I think at its time of demise, but I remember thinking a long time ago that hey, GI Joe would make a great Battlefield type game. Where the classes would be the characters that you play. And they attempted that a couple of years ago, not really a Battlefield game, but just really a team, a co-op game. I can't remember the name of it. I did play it. It was kind of terrible. It was janky
Really?
and it just didn't get a lot of production value. But the idea was there where you play different characters from G.I. Joe and then fight, waves of Cobra dudes that all just wore blue. So then it made me, seeing that in a visual, in a actual state, made me think that maybe that wasn't the best idea. It's you have a lot of really interesting characters. Now there are some interesting bad guys.
Starscream.
That's Transformers, but
Transformers.
yeah,
That's
he's
an excellent name, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I like
yeah,
that
it
name.
is.
Yeah.
That guy's voice, I still hear it in my sleep. But yeah, that
He
was the
kept
same
trying to
era.
do coups. He kept trying to do coups, right?
Yeah. He was like, "Hey, we need to
that's
take over," and I'm like, "Right now, now, yeah."
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, if they would just make a game all of those characters together, and
You'd be
battle
down.
it out a battle royale of '80s
100
cartoon characters.
I like that. Now you
Yeah.
have my attention.
Yeah.
Right?
So one thing,
He-Man
would you
would be
guys
OP.
say the G.I. Joe franchise is kind of down right now overall? I would assume so.
Oh,
I would,
yeah.
I would think so. I
Yeah.
think they tried to reboot the movie series with Snake Eyes, but it didn't do very well.
Okay.
And
So I
So-
guess they're looking to video games as a way to kind of reboot, kind of refresh the franchise.
yeah, and it was a kind of an origin story, and I don't know how he became Snake Eyes, but in the comic, him and Storm Shadow were in Nam, together. They were in Vietnam. This is he got he basically took a bullet for Storm Shadow. He'd saved him, but he got his face got injured, and that's why he couldn't talk, and that's why he wore a mask, because he was horribly scarred. But then Storm Shadow got, when they came back to the States, he kind of took over the dojo and killed the master, and that wasn't cool, Snake Eyes. So they became bitter enemies. Usual stuff.
All right.
Like
I feel like that's kind of like Indiana Jones. Like, I don't know if Indiana Jones is that high of an IP. How did that movie do?
It didn't do very well.
It didn't?
And and I mean, it's kind of expected, right? I mean, it's... Yeah. People had a problem with the last one, with him, jumping in a refrigerator, which at the time was made of lead. Just throwing that out there. Which would have been the best thing to get into if there was a nuclear explosion. But, and I always had it's like, oh, that was ridiculous. I'm like, okay, so you can pull a man's heart out of his chest and him still be alive until he burns to death, and then his heart catches on fire in the guy's hand. You don't have a problem with that. But getting in a refrigerator,
I can defend
during
this.
An explosion.
I can defend this.
Yep.
All right. The heart scene is like, they were like deep in the jungle, right? And they like found like a society where it's like they were like
mystical,
like mystical.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like that was like a mysterious thing. I feel like the jumping in the fridge was just like a science,
like a gag.
Like that's science.
Okay, I get you. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, it was. That and the swinging through the trees like the monkeys.
That was terrible. Yeah. There's there is a part in the movie where they say what happens to his son. So I won't spoil it, but they do. Okay. They do address that. Okay. But I don't think I knew when I saw the trailer it wasn't going to do that well, because there's only so many of guys in my age group that would go see that movie and get some enjoyment out of it. Everyone else is going to go just not really understand it, because I think a franchise can kind of outlive itself. Especially if it's around one certain character. It doesn't really have room to grow. Star Wars has flourished because there's so many characters and there's so many things you can do with it. Especially like Andor. Excellent series. I mean, I don't care if you like Star Wars or not. That show was excellent, So there's more things you can do. When it's tied around that one character, there's a reason why they canceled the TV show, and Harrison Ford, has basically said we're done. That that's my last movie. When he's done, I'm done.
Maybe was it Machine Games? Video game might revive it too. It's another case of kind of like G.I. Joe.
Yeah, so. And if it's really good,
if it's good,
if it can fill that gap that there's no Uncharted, there's no Lara Croft game that we know of. I think they're making a Lara Croft game, but I don't think it's going to be I think it's going to be like a live service.
Nice.
Open world kind of thing. Yeah, I mean that sounds kind of fun, but you know what I mean. I mean it'll fill that hole that Lara Croft and Nathan Drake were kind of imitating at the time anyway. So
Scott, I have something to tell you or ask you that's related to Indiana Jones. So I'm a big Rocky fan, right? You know how Stallone gets to be in his 40s and they're like he can't be fighting people anymore. It's not realistic,
right? And
then he just kind of quit on the franchise, and then 75-year-old Sylvester Stallone's like, why don't I become the trainer?
Right.
How come? I'm just we just missed out on 10 amazing Rocky movies where he's just the trainer. He's Mick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm like, what they should have done is, I know in this Indiana Jones movie he's like an action star, right?
Yeah.
But we all like Harrison Ford. Can't he just be like a guy who's like, I can't do the jumping and stuff, but I'll kind of go on location with you and I'll kind of tell you what to do.
I think that's a little bit harder, because I feel like
it's harder.
You're not really training someone. I don't know how it would go.
I guess how you could view him is he's a specialist on these locales, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he believes something exists that no organization will believe, and this young person's like, I believe you, Indiana Jones.
Yeah, the movie kind of does that in a way.
Does it?
It was really smart about him. He's not like oh well, I've got to do this because I'm Indiana Jones.
He's reluctant.
He's very reluctant and kind of gets thrown into it. And there's a reason why he's doing it, and it's a good reason. But it's also not like, you know, it's obvious that he's got some age on him, and they kind of poke fun of him in the movie, but it never really becomes a gag. You know what I mean? Like old man gag, which is very smart too. So it makes it more fun. There is one part where he does kind of complain, you know, about you know, his shoulder and stuff. But it's got some huge plot holes. But as far as like his character, they really did the character right.
Really?
Yeah. And it's the same way, you know, with the game. They need to get the character right. If they don't get the character right, then they don't have the game right. And I was thinking about that watching the movie. You know, you can have the set pieces and you can have the action and all that, but if they don't get the character right, and they don't implement the same kind of humor and humility and, you know, the mistakes he makes, you know, in the game, then you know, it's not going to hit. It's not going to hit the same.
I guess you know Sully in the Uncharted games.
Yeah.
I'm like that's old Harrison Ford. He can be Sully.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, he's kind of like that. I always thought that like that's what they should do with Master Chief in Halo, is kind of like him pass the torch to someone else.
Decommission him.
Yeah, like become like a trainer or something that is there.
Yeah,
like
Obi-Wan.
don't kill him off. Yeah, exactly. Like don't kill him off, but he can play a huge part in another story just with someone else.
Right.
Oh no, we saw kind of how that played out in the recent Star Wars trilogy. In a way,
with Luke.
Yeah, with Luke.
Well, yeah, but that was just terrible writing. I mean, that's
that's true.
You know,
that's true.
I mean,
okay, I just realized we are a movie podcast at this point.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we should probably move on. It's summer, you know, there's a lot of movies and stuff. But anyway.
Yeah. All right. So those were the intriguing news stories for Scott, but I know Thick also had some intriguing news stories, because that's how this podcast works.
Yeah. What do you call it? You know, I want to talk about GamePass Core, right?
Yeah.
It was announced. I don't think you guys talked about it earlier, right?
No, we didn't talk about it last week.
So basically, on September, I think was it 14th? Game Pass, well, Xbox Live is going away.
Good.
Xbox Live has been around for, was it 20 plus years at this point?
Yep.
And we are getting Xbox Game Pass Core to replace it. This means that it's mostly the same.
What about the price? Is the price the same?
The price is the same. It's
okay.
$10 a month or whatever. I don't know if they'll keep the prepaid like 10 months card, or 12 months cards anymore. I hope they do.
It's $10 a month.
$10 a month if you pay monthly. $5.
Oh, right.
If you just buy the 1 year, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I'd assume they keep it because PlayStation has kept theirs around.
Right.
So. But basically, instead of Games with Gold, which we know is a program that's been kind of like waning in favor of Game Pass lately, is now being replaced with a kind of like a subset of what you would get in Game Pass, but it's a selection of 25 games. Let me go through the list, or some of the highlights of the list, and see what you guys think about it. So, Among Us, Descenders, Dishonored 2, not Dishonored 1, Doom Eternal, Fable Anniversary, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Forza Horizon 4, not 5, Gears of War 5, or just Gears 5, Grounded, Halo 5, Halo Wars 2, Hellblade, Senua's Saga, the first one, of course, and Human Fall Flat. There's also State of Decay 2, Psychonauts 2, Ori, Will of the Wisp, Inside, and Elder Scrolls Online.
Okay.
That's a pretty good chunk of games.
Yeah. So this will be rotating like on a less frequent basis, from what I hear. So,
I think isn't the problem that the next step up is an extra $1 per month?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
this
the
is where
next,
a lot of complaints are coming in from.
yeah,
And then, there's a lot of people kind of advocating for why not just make online free? So,
yeah,
what were you guys' opinion that should online be free?
Oh,
it
I've
should
always
be,
said that. I don't pay for
right?
online gameplay.
But do you
Mm-hmm.
think it makes sense for them to make that tier free? It feels like that tier shouldn't even exist in that place then.
I think that tier is to replace. That's okay. That's for the people that want to pay $10 a month. That's all
Yeah.
it is. They don't want to. They don't want to come out with something that is higher than that right now.
Hmm.
Because we all know what happened last time when they raised the price of it.
Yeah.
I think that it's probably going to go away at some point. It's just going to be console. I think for right now, it's just a transition. It's, I think that anybody that looks at this going into it would want to pay another dollar to get hundreds of high quality games on console.
Yeah. Yeah.
New games
But
on
the
day
thing
one.
is, was it the console Game Pass doesn't have online multiplayer right now?
It does
The
not.
confusion. It does not. Yeah.
That's so they're including a bunch of multiplayer games in that group.
So,
Well, in the core group you get online, right? But with
But
the
in the
Game
console,
Pass,
you don't.
you do not.
well,
You
So
do
how
not
do I-
get online.
it says for
If-
core you get online console multiplayer.
Yes,
Okay, but on console you don't.
you don't. You only get the subscription to Game Pass.
That's stupid.
This doesn't make sense. This
That doesn't make
sense.
any
Yeah.
sense at all.
Because
You're paying a dollar more.
Didn't console Game Pass? That's been existing for a year or two. at this
That's
point, right?
existed and had a price increase this year, right?
Yeah.
So it was originally $10 as well.
Hasn't that
Uh,
always had online though?
It has not.
No,
It
Game
hasn't?
Pass. Yeah, Game Pass is not online. You have to get live to
Yeah.
play games online, which is still an archaic way of doing things, and I wish they would get rid of it.
Yeah.
So your next step, if you wanted to play games online and you wanted to have Game Pass, it would just made sense to get the Ultimate, which
Yeah.
would give you benefits of both, and
Okay.
PC Game Pass as well.
That is weird. That is so weird.
Yeah, I'd say it feels like a band-aid right now, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't just immediately get rid of, I guess, live. I think they're trying to definitely transition out of it. So it makes sense what you said, Scott. I think eventually it will go away, but probably not within the next 2 years, I feel.
One thing that I noticed that is kind of crappy is that you have to pay Ultimate now to get EA Play membership, whereas
Yeah.
now, or you will now, you just pay for Game Pass and you get it automatically. Or is it live? No, I take that back. I think if you pay for live, wow, it's been so long now. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Either one.
I forget. I feel like okay. PC Game Pass, you get EA Play. I think that's
do.
what you're trying to say, right?
Well,
But
no,
then
I'm
on the
saying I'm saying like in general, like if you pay for Game Pass,
Yeah.
you get EA Play automatically for no extra charge.
I don't think console that was ever the case.
Yeah.
Like just for the console base.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It used to be $4.99 for EA Play, and then they merged EA Play, that $4.99 model, into Game Pass. So you got it automatically. So they just took all of the EA Play games and put them in Game Pass for the same price. Now it's different. So you have to pay for Ultimate to get those additional EA Play
I think
games.
that was always the case though. Like
No, it comes with Game Pass.
did you have that? Because you were mostly on Ultimate for a while, right?
When Game Pass came out, I was paying $4.99 for EA Play, up until they added it to Game, and I was also paying for Game Pass. So, ultimately they added that to Game Pass. So it was just a wash. So like right now, if you pay for Game Pass, you're getting EA Play for no additional charge, which we kind of all thought that wasn't going to stay forever. But now they've split it up into you're going to have to get Ultimate to get EA Play membership. But that doesn't include the EA Pro. They even have another tier on PC as well that's more.
Yeah, that's not on console. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, if you don't have any of this stuff and you're looking at it, it kind of makes sense. But
It's confusing
if
for
you
a lot of
already-
new people.
yeah, but well, if you already have it, that's what's confusing, because if you're just playing for, say, Xbox Live, $10 a month, and you don't even have Game Pass, so you're gonna still be paying $10 a month, and you're gonna get 25 additional games that you can play that you probably already have, and you get
Probably,
discounts
yeah.
and deals, and that's okay. But if you want to get actual Game Pass, you're going to spend $1 more. So you're also going to lose, if you have, and say you just have Game Pass, you're going to lose all EA titles unless you go to Ultimate. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just.
There's some good news. There
What's
is
that?
some good news here. You remember 30 years ago there was a profession called the travel agent? You go.
Yeah.
They're coming back with this.
Really?
You're going to go to a brick and mortar store. You're going to have an Xbox Live, like someone who like walks you through like what you're going to buy, when you're going to buy it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Think of the economy, the effect that
Okay, I
has
see
on the
what you're
economy.
saying.
Yeah.
They're just creating jobs.
They're
Yeah.
just creating jobs.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, good on you, Microsoft.
Right.
But yeah, I think the PlayStation one was already kind of confusing for a lot of people,
Yeah, it
especially
was.
with
Yeah.
with the way they named it. But now I think this is even worse. Right
Yeah,
now.
this is worse.
Yeah, because it's not like a straight up like was it like low tier, mid tier, high tier? It's just
Yeah.
different tiers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
drop the core, add online to console, and it makes way more sense. You just get the same thing between console and PC for the same price, and if you want more, you pay for Ultimate. That's all you have to do. That makes way more sense. I think that core is just for the people that are paying for Live, and they just want to continue to pay $10, and they're afraid that if it goes up $1 that they're going to lose. But even
Could
if
this just be a way to kind of funnel players into the tier that Microsoft wants?
Yeah, it's definitely a way, but I
Yeah.
feel like this is also a band-aid because essentially they're only doing one major thing, which is changing the name. And I mean, Games with Gold was already kind of bad, so whoever is paying for just Gold right now, like
Right.
you're not really getting the value. I think this 25 games is a better value than
It
the
is.
whatever.
Yeah, it's you're definitely getting better games than anything you would have gotten from Games with Gold
for a while,
for
yeah.
the next 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last good one was maybe Portal 2, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I
that
would
was
say
like
so.
a year and a half ago. So
Yeah. Wow. This is a sad news story.
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
In other sad news, the Meta Pro, was
yeah.
it Meta
Quest.
Quest Pro,
Yeah.
is likely essentially being like end of life. Like from what I hear, from what's being reported, is the manufacturer is set to just complete manufacturing with whatever materials they have. Then no more will be made after that.
Now, is this not their new one that they announced, the
So the
$1,600 one?
Okay, yeah, it's the AR one, right? It's the one that was originally 1,500, but they actually
Okay.
dropped it to 1,000, like not too long afterwards.
Oh, okay.
So, like it's kind of like the 3DS, right? Where it had was it 250 at one point, and then it dropped it to 200.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like that same sort of scenario for them.
Obviously not selling.
Yeah, it was not selling. It had really mixed reviews. So, people say part of this is related to, Apple announcing their Vision headset, which is not coming out for a while.
That thing's going to be huge.
Yeah, but they talked to one of the, I forget his name.
Huge disappointment.
John Carmack.
No, not John Carmack, but they talked to some of the representatives of Meta, and they said that the Pro line is not necessarily off the table. Like people are saying, like the Pro 2 is canceled, but they haven't even announced a Pro 2. So like they have a lot of prototypes they mentioned. Like some things get they don't go past the prototype stage. So like they're saying that there's still a possibility. I think will probably be a few years before we see another Pro. So they do have the Quest 3 coming up, so I think will be what they focus on for at least the upcoming years.
So they're saying VR is like kind of like a lower end. That's the market they think can be you
Well,
can extract money from.
it's hard to say. With Apple's, they have a different strategy, and it's
Yeah,
not
they're
really
going high
about
end.
games. Yeah, they're going
Yeah.
high end right now,
Mhm.
and maybe they're waiting to see what develops with that. I feel like it's not. They're not looking too much into that for like in regards to Pro necessarily. But
Mhm.
if they are, I think it'll be a while before you see the next Pro 2, if at
Okay.
all.
So VR is not it's not dead yet.
It's not dead. I think the
Okay.
Meta Quest 3 will be a success.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well,
yeah,
Scott
that's all
is
I got.
remaining silent. He is remaining silent. Let the record show. Let the record show.
Okay.
I have no
All
comment.
right.
No,
All
it's
right.
fine. I think it should
All right.
stay small. That's almost. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, Thick, is that going to do it for you this week?
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right.
All right, I got two quick news stories that I thought intrigued me, but as I'm rereading them, they didn't intrigue me that much. All right. Number one, Cyberpunk 2077 has clawed its way to very positive Steam reviews after a rocky launch, according to GameSpot, and Reality, according to both things. I guess last week was the first time in 3 years that the game shifted to very positive reviews, with over 80% of reviews being favorable. Here's my question. Here is my question. So
Yeah.
there's noisy people online who bemoan the state of gaming. They say
Mhm.
things like, quote, developers just release buggy games now because they know they can patch it later. Where do you two fall on this? Are you like AAA developers are bad, they're lazy devs?
I think for me, I don't necessarily subscribe to that narrative. Um,
I don't either. I don't either.
yeah, because I feel like some people that say that a lot, that's immediately what they think when they look at a game, and then they just like once they see even a little bit wrong, they just like confirm their own bias. So
Right. Right. Scott, what about you?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. I'm kind of split on that. I don't think
Are you?
they're lazy in that instance. As far as Cyberpunk 2077, the developers were actually saying it's like, please don't release this. It's like this isn't
shareholders
ready.
just-
We've got like 2 years. This isn't ready at all. But it was the higher ups, the people in charge that were like, we've got to release it. You got to get it in a working order. I mean, we've got to, because we've got, these people have given us money.
Right.
And those things, happen. That's just business. Unfortunately,
yeah,
when you release something in a terrible state that is, doesn't work on certain consoles. Sorry. You can recoup, it's, you get those day one dollars. And that's when it's like, okay, that's when you start doing your analytics. How much are we going to lose? How many returns are we going to have to do? How
Right.
bad is this to the point of, getting returns and having to give people money back?
yeah,
In some instances, it may not matter, because if you get those dollars on the front end, then your shareholders are like, oh, okay, no problem. We'll leave you alone for right now. But at the same time, I think about other games that I actually think, like Battlefield 2042 at its launch was actually worse than 2077. I mean, it was blatant
That bad.
that they knew, all of them knew that it was not a full-fledged game, but they released it anyway.
Right.
This was not something new to them, right? This is a series. They come out with one every like 2 to 3 years. This is not something that they should have it down. It's basically what I'm saying.
yeah. I think
know.
that was the worst Battlefield launch from
Yeah.
like any of them. Like people complain about 4. To be honest, like I remember I was playing 4, and I had disconnects, but I wasn't screaming like other people were. Like when I was playing, I was having fun, and
Yeah.
it was as long as it worked.
Yeah. I remember having, it did have some issues, but all the issues that they had were basically multiplayer and connection and server issues, and those we've kind of come to just expect when there's a multiplayer game that comes out. But with 2042 it was almost unplayable. I mean, it was just buggy, but again, it's this ain't your first rodeo. You do this. This is this isn't a series. Cyberpunk was something completely new to them. So it felt like, okay, maybe we should give you a little bit of a leeway on that. I don't know. But as far
it was
as
already delayed several times though.
yeah, and
right?
it did get delayed. Yeah. And Battlefield got delayed like a week. I think it was was it a week or maybe a month?
It was a couple weeks. Yeah, it was short.
It was something.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with anyway? But so it's kind of hard to say. Now I just feel like I almost expect it. I pre-ordered Remnant 2 and I expect it to run horribly, but
rough to start.
Right. But at the same time, Jedi Survivor got they were like, "Oh, this is the worst game of the year. This is just blah blah blah." That's like one of my favorite games of the year. It was not at a good state. It did lock up on me a couple times. The performance was not that well, I mean, I played from like 45 to 80 frames per second. It was kind of all over the place, but it was a good game and it was playable and I finished it in that state, so it's kind of hard to say. I still enjoyed myself with the game and I didn't have any issues. Lazy? No. I think it's just bad management. I think it's just bad decisions. Both those games, 2042 and 2077, should have been delayed another year at least. And they didn't do it because somebody told them not to.
Yeah, I feel like the term lazy gets thrown around by...
It's the worst, yeah.
Yeah, but no... they don't know what's really happening behind the scenes. So like
you have to interpret the comment. You have to interpret the comment. Yeah.
Right.
I have to translate it, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Last question on this story: are either of you going back into that game once the new update drops?
Fan
of Liberty.
I mentioned I played on Stadia, which I had the save I pulled from we could save the save file, so I pulled it to PC, but I haven't bought the PC version. I have the Xbox version, which by the way I got for $5 when it was
super sale.
Yeah, super sale. Because funny, I based on what happened with No Man's Sky, that was also like a super sale at one point, but now it rarely drops below 30.
Yeah.
So I knew that I had to get it at that time. So
I think the game is $27 right now on PlayStation.
Yeah, it's 27 or 30. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm almost positive it's 27 because it's 2077, like 20.
Right.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah.
I finished it on Xbox and did buy it again on Steam when I think it was like $19.99, anticipating the DLC. So I'm hoping, I haven't read yet, but do you have to have a completed game to play the DLC, or can you just go into it? I'm hoping that you don't.
Yeah.
You might have to, I think, because I feel like it It might change the ending, from what I hear. So,
well, then I'm probably going to skip it. I just don't want to play that game again.
You didn't like that game that much, Scott?
No, I did. I enjoyed the game, but it's one of those games that's like you have certain decisions that you make that alter your overall outcome. And I got a good one. I felt like I finished it, and I was happy with the ending.
Go for the bad one.
But you see what I'm saying? Is like I don't want to. It wasn't good enough for me to go, oh, I can't wait to make a new character and do that all over again. There were too many like missions and stuff that were just boring and tedious, and I don't want to do it again now.
Well, so we do know that along with Phantom Liberty, it's basically like they're upgrading the original game, like a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, like I forgot what happened in most of the game already, aside from some key scenes. That I'm okay just picking it up on Xbox again.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that new update comes out in September.
Yeah.
So it'll be here soon.
I'll be playing
who knows
something else.
Yeah, I think I might. It'll be a while probably. So.
Yeah.
All right, my last news story is the new story trailer for Spider-Man 2 released. And call me crazy, but is this getting like slightly more positive impressions than the PlayStation Showcase trailer?
Did you guys watch this? I thought it looked better. But I mean, it's a story trailer. It's meant to look like absolutely positively perfect.
I mean, it's going to be mostly a story-based game, so I would hope the story looked good. I mean, I like all the characters.
Yeah, the druid from Diablo 4's in it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, that's the QAnon shaman.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah. I guess I'm like, what if they switch the trailers? What if this was shown during the conference?
well, one thing is this was shown at Comic-Con, so it doesn't make sense. So if they
Yeah,
swapped
okay.
it, it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I guess I just wonder with these types of games, I'm like, what is the strength of single player like AAA? And I'm like, I think story is a big pull for these
Yeah.
types of games. And I'm like, that's the strongest, that's your best foot forward, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
like gameplay that kind of looks a lot like the gameplay from the previous two games,
Yeah.
But what do I know? I don't like this Spider-Man. I don't like Marvel. I don't like any of that. I don't like any of it. I'm getting old.
I'm still working through the first game, but I do notice that they upped the speed because of the SSD. They could load stuff better, so they upped the
Oh,
speed in
really?
the second one. So
Oh, okay.
if people cared about that, then yeah, I think that'll be a nice change for people that like the game.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, speak now. Any other further comments on there, or should we get to the rumor mill?
So let's mill it up.
Let's mill it up. We got some good rumors this week. Scott wet his pants after. Okay. Rumor number one. Jeff Grubb says that Metroid Prime 2 is coming soon in something Zelda that isn't Tears of the Kingdom related. So that's good for you, Thick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is happening later this year. I'm the Nintendo expert, so I know what this is.
You played more Tears of the Kingdom than
No,
me.
I'm the official Nintendo expert on this podcast, all right? This is a Zelda roguelike. Roguelite.
You think so?
I hope so, but no, I don't think it is. I
It's
don't
an
think it is.
extraction game. Oh, it could be the 3DO version on the Switch.
Ooh.
Oh, the 3DO version. That's
Yeah.
right.
There we go.
Yeah, okay. All right. All right, number two. Tom Henderson says for the 12th time that a PS5 Pro is coming. This time it's aiming for a Q4 2024 release date. It's supposedly targeting a consistent frame rate at 4K, a new performance mode, and accelerated ray tracing. Scott,
Okay, people are gonna be disappointed if that's not happening. Like all those settings.
those are like mandatory, you think?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they put on the box. Was it on PS5? They put 8K, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to
I
me,
think
I always know that it's always special circumstances up to 8K, but some
Yeah.
people really lean on those little words. So
Well,
Yeah.
I think in the documentation it states that it's 8K video.
yeah,
So it's a YouTube, you can go 8K YouTube video?
Right.
Yeah.
And then of course I think the drive will actually play like an 8K movie or
Ah.
8K
Are there 8K
video.
movies? Are there
I don't
8K
know.
movies?
That was the whole like questions like, well,
Yeah.
what can you actually do in 8K? But
Right.
yeah, I think there was like a little, there's a little asterisk by that.
yeah. I think this has been done since was it 360 era where they said HD, but then it's it's not
Yeah,
1080p.
almost
720.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
So like
right.
at this point, I'm used to it. I don't, I know I get why people scream about it, but like at this point, I'm like, we know it's not going to be like
Right.
maxed out. So
No, and honestly, 4K 60 was promised with the PS5, and we didn't get it. I mean, it just didn't hit it on pretty much anything.
I'm sure there's a couple of indie games out there, like 2D.
Yeah, there's probably maybe a couple that like had a consistent 4K at 60, but as far as like the AAA titles, the stuff that's first party, nah, it didn't happen. So, fingers crossed again.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys buy, what was it, Phil Spencer said that there's not going to be a Series X update? Do you guys buy that? Remember a couple weeks ago he said that?
I do, because I think that is going to infringe on having two models
Yeah.
of the series.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
so
So
it
you
just
gotta
it muddies up the market too much?
Yeah,
It-
I mean,
it does.
look what happened when they did Game Pass Core.
Right.
Yeah, right,
Yeah, I mean, that
right.
would be kind of the same thing. So whereas before you had an Xbox One S and then they made an Xbox One X, which is an upgrade, and that would be like an upgrade from an S to an X now. So if you put another SKU out there for this generation, it's hard to sell that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think either one of these is really needed. But I don't think we need a PS5 Pro.
No, it's just for people who want to buy the luxury items.
Yeah, I think it's just at that point sales will be, everybody that wants a PS5 basically has a PS5. You know, that's when the numbers start to level off. You know, we start to get a little bit closer to that end of that generation. Unless they make like a slimmer one, then people are replacing, you know, the PS5 that broke 6 months ago, or they traded in or whatever. But I think that they would do better with that than an actual Pro. If they made a smaller model that was cooler and quieter, but I can't imagine what the size of a PS5 Pro is going to be. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be basically a door. Yeah, it's going to be the size of like a closet door. I don't know.
Yeah, it's basically the radiator on your wall.
Yeah, exactly. So, and probably consume just as much power. But yeah, I just don't. I don't think it's needed. I think it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, we will see. It seems like Tom Henderson's right a lot of times.
Yeah, he is.
12 times. He's been asked 12 times.
12 times, that's right. That's right.
Oh,
Project Q. Guys, this is rumor number 3. Project Q, which is the PS5 streaming handheld, there's video out on the internet. Did either of you take a look at this?
Yeah, I saw somebody using it.
The only thing I want to bring up is I feel like half the comments online is quote, "This thing looks ugly." I can't stand these people. I can't fathom why they're even saying this. So try to talk me down from this ledge here.
Let me double check what it looks like.
It looks like a controller with a big screen in the middle of it. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't call it ugly.
Like, is this ugly? Because it's just this.
Yeah, with just a big with a tablet in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is like all these handhelds, like, you know, the 3DS, the Switch, horrendous for people with like large hands. Horrendous. All I want is that controller split in half with the screen in the middle. That's all I want.
Yeah, I think they were really smart in the design of you know, putting just spacing out that controller, especially if you're going from, you know, if you have your you know, PS5 controller, you put it down and pick up this thing and walk across the room because that's the only place you're going. You know, and playing it's you know, the go between is not, you know, there's nothing to it.
Right.
But yeah, I wouldn't call it ugly at all.
Yeah, it's weird how many comments are like, "This thing is ugly." I'm like, it just
that's
looks
the
like
least of my worries. It's the price that I'm worried
I don't
about.
care about I don't care about the looks, because once you're in the game, you're not thinking about like, oh, what do the curves on the handle look like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they're just thinking of like it with the PS Vita. It was a portable device that looked like a portable device, where this doesn't really look like a portable device. It looks like somebody just had a quick idea. Just take this and stretch it out and put a screen there, and then they sent it to production.
Yeah.
My response, because I do think you're right on that. My response to that is like, I played the Vita. The Vita was a nightmare to play with.
It was.
Those little nubs.
Those sticks were terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently people care what these things look like. I don't know.
I don't know. Just why? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I can digest the debate of like the consoles. Like people are like, oh, the PS5 it looks hideous, right? I'm like, all right, whatever. That's your opinion. I can't even fathom, you know, the conversation around this thing. But you know,
yeah,
all right,
yeah, it's fine. You're not imagining anything.
All right, so don't stay on the internet too long, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's not you.
Yeah. All right. Number 4, Insomniac Games is working on another unannounced AAA game, according to an Insomniac employee. This broke just today. So an employee said they're working on that. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, it sounds like it's going to be the multiplayer game, but do developers call multiplayer games AAA? You think she's like, yeah, I'm working on an unannounced AAA game. Do you think she means a multiplayer game? I feel like you don't make that connection.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
Call of Duty is essentially a AAA title, but it does have a single player.
Right. Is Warzone 2.0 AAA?
Yeah. See, that's kind of hard to say, because I don't think we call those AAA titles because they evolve. You know, what you get at launch may not even be the same game 6 months from then. So, I would say it's single player. It's going to be Howard the Duck, the game. Okay. Yeah.
All right. You heard it. You heard it here first.
Just going to throw
Howard
that out
the
there.
Duck.
Yeah.
Howard the Duck.
They got Marvel licenses, so, you know, just reuse it.
Rumor number 5. This one's gonna perk you guys up. Arcane Austin, you remember them?
Mm-hmm.
They appear to
Yeah.
be getting back on the horse. Fall down 6 times, get up 7. They're hiring for a person with familiarity with single-player action RPGs and immersive sims. Thick, tell us what your heart is saying right now.
No, I'm ready. I guess they're moving on from Redfall, right? So
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's been
Scott.
awfully quiet on that
Yeah.
side. So
Yeah. How exciting is 2032 gonna be? It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, it'll be extremely exciting.
Yeah,
If we all
Dishonored
live
3.
that long. Yeah. 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 Well, I think they said somebody was it Harvey Smith that I think that said that they started their next game before Redfall was finished, and they had another team on Redfall that finishing that up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he maybe just talked about like his team has moved on from Redfall and is working
Right.
on the next title, and he did say that I think he did say that that was a single player, more of an Arcane type game. I'm hoping Dishonored 3.
Do you love Dishonored that much?
I did. I like
Yeah.
the first one is one of my favorite games.
All right.
The second one
maybe
is,
that's why
is
Dishonored 2 is coming to Game Pass Core.
Oh, that could
it's a
be.
good
That
game.
could be.
It's a very good game. It just doesn't run well on the consoles. But yeah, the first one run really well.
Yeah.
I like it.
I just want whatever they're working on. I want it to be third person. I can't be doing stealth in first person. Can't be doing it.
Yeah, you can.
Stealth belongs in the third person
Oh,
perspective.
come on.
Thick, tell him.
Yeah.
Thick, tell him.
I don't like stealth games.
Ooh.
Okay, all right. A solid neutral stance from Thick
Yeah.
again.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I got a package.
Okay.
Oh, well, at this point, it would be a good time to take a break.
Let's do it. All right. Well, this segment of our show is called Big Talk for
For
Big
biggest.
Brains.
Yes.
That's right. Thick, why don't you introduce the topic to our listeners?
Okay, so the general topic will be regarding extended media. Basically video games that basically go to extended media. So we know that, we talked about Indiana Jones, we talked about GI Joe, and basically those are, like shows that go to video games, right?
Yeah,
Or
That's
as-
right.
So that's always been happening, right? That's been happening for as long as I remember. But it's never been as big of a thing for it, vice versa, the video games to extended media. Now, when I say extended media, I mostly talk about like maybe TV shows and movies. But
Movies.
there's also things like books,
Books.
Yes.
comics, manga. So, for video games, like it wasn't always like a success. In the recent years, it's been very successful. The crossover, right?
For sure.
Like do you guys kind of have an idea when the pivot point kind of happens? Like there's no wrong or right answer for this. Like it feels like there's like a certain point where things just kind of like switched and everything just started becoming way higher quality.
I'm going to give you an answer. Tell me if I'm right or wrong here. It's the first Spider-Man on PS4.
You-
That
You
kicked
think
it
so?
off. Well, what do you think? Well, give me one that before that.
Oh,
I was thinking
this
about-
is the reverse, right? So we
Wait.
want a video game franchise that became
Yeah.
a successful movie.
I'm thinking of like the Mario Brothers cartoon in Saturday Morning. Was the
Yeah.
first thing I remember that like went from video games now to characters. No, there's before
They were
that?
definitely the first. These were like we're talking about those were the first, but like for the longest time, like we received a lot of B tier or C tier movies. Resident Evil, Silent Hill. What was the other one?
Those things were successful. They made about 20 of them. They made 20 of them
Okay,
because
maybe
first
the Resident
19
Evils, right?
I
But
like
think
those movies. They're so stupid, but I like them.
They are right.
They're very faithful to the game.
Yeah.
Very faithful.
In a, I guess, campy way.
Yeah.
Right? Because I guess the Resident Evils are campy, but I feel like a lot of people complain about them, right? Like they
Yeah.
weren't like the
Really weren't.
crossover, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like right now, I think you have things like was it Cyberpunk
Anime?
Edge Runner,
yeah,
right?
Edge Runner, yeah.
And it's completely based in the same universe. It has similar tones, maybe slightly more anime tone, but I think it's one of those recent ones that I really think of that does a really good job translating the video games world
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And of course, that was a tabletop game to begin with.
Yeah, yeah.
So it
So
went even further. Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's more like that's a lot of crossovers. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess people really or companies really like doing this because it just kind of buffers it really generates sales for the whole franchise as a whole.
You
Yeah.
have a built-in audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red did say there was a huge spike when Edge Runner came out in Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah. And also the Witcher TV show. So the Witcher TV show comes out, and the Witcher 3 gets a whole new audience. Right.
That's
So
true.
sometimes it
Did
works.
you guys like that one? I never watched it yet.
I watched the first season, and I liked the first season. It's really weird the way that the story is kind of set in different times. But once you figure that out, it's kind of brings everything together. I enjoyed it. I watched part of the second season, and I couldn't get into it. And I hear the third one is just terrible. So
Okay.
I'm just going to hold that first season and say it was good.
Okay. So I have a couple questions for you guys. Let's ask, what is your favorite video game to extended media product? Like it could be the movies, it could be shows, comics, or books.
Oh boy, I don't like this from over here to that way. I'm gonna go. My favorite one
go
is
like the opposite.
Yeah, go the opposite. But I'm not gonna because I'm actually gonna answer Thick's question.
Yeah.
My favorite was in 2001. What am I gonna list off? 2001.
Halo.
Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
You like that?
I never saw it.
What?
So I don't know if I liked it or not. That's right.
Oh,
But
it's terrible.
Here's what I know.
Yeah.
Back then, I was so into EGM and I guess PlayStation Monthly, those magazines, that I was like, this is a big franchise. Like, this is so exciting. Now whenever I hear the franchise is making a leap, I'm like, I'm dead inside. I can't feel any of it.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Like, there was the Spirit Within, and then there was also Advent Children a little bit later, which I think it's still like people like that movie, but I feel like most of it is because of the fan service to it. So,
when you say fan service, what do you mean?
It's basically like it appeals to people that like the game, right? They have little nods to it, right?
Yeah, the Spirits Within really did not have a lot of... It didn't really tie into it well. I went to the theater to see that. And actually, when I saw your topic, I went back and I found it streaming for free on some bizarre freebie site that I probably risked going to, right? But just because I don't think I've seen it since I saw it in the theater. And at the time... this was you had Toy Story. A lot of those animated features were animated. They were not, they were like cartoon characters. This was when they took the approach and tried to make an actual movie of this. And even then it was kind of, but the movie itself is not, it's not good. It's not a good story.
Yeah, it's not good.
Excellent cast. I mean, Alec Baldwin and Steve Buscemi and
wow.
Yeah, I mean it's
a stellar cast.
Yeah, it's a really good cast, but it just Donald Sutherland. It wasn't good, but it didn't matter. Like at the time, it was we talk about leaving the theater. Everybody was just talking about how great it looked. Like this is the future of movies now.
I also feel like back then that was the time period where gamers were we're like these little nerds on the side.
Yeah,
and, movies, music, and TV are
I see what you mean. Like that was kind of I love Final Fantasy, but I have other ways. Now I have other ways to enjoy it. But of course, the movie wasn't a great. Now it kind of reminds me of a similar thing with the Warcraft movie. Did you guys watch that?
I didn't mind it. I did not mind that movie.
I did not mind it either. I think they again fan service, right? There was a ton of nods to the fans, but the tone of the movie and then maybe a couple things they did not really get right. So maybe the plot was just not that great and the acting subpar.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Who's the main character? What's that guy's name? He's from Vikings. I can never remember his name, but he even said he wasn't sure why they picked him for that role because he can't act. He said that.
Oh.
He's like, I'm not a very good actor. I don't know why they picked me.
He looks like someone that would be in the game.
He does, but he did not do a very good job with that. But yeah,
I think that guy was a model. That's how he launched his acting career. He was
Yeah.
a model at first.
Yeah, and I mean, in playing a Viking, I mean, he does a fine job of playing a Viking because they're just very stoic and
Yeah.
Right.
But playing somebody else it seems to be difficult. But yeah, that's a good example of that movie didn't do very well. But did it not do well because it was a movie based on a game, or did it not do well because it didn't reach a broader audience?
I think it's the second one, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I mean, you have to be faithful to the people that made it popular, but you also want to be able to make it accessible to people that don't know anything about the game, and that's got to be really hard to do.
Yeah, and I think great examples where it did work is again the Cyberpunk one. I would say, I don't know because I haven't seen it yet, but maybe the new Mario movie. Like I feel like that had a very broad audience. I could be wrong. I have not yet seen it.
Yeah, that might be a little. I mean, Mario's like universally known, so that probably was a little bit easier. But yeah, I haven't seen it either. I can't think of one that. I think of the 2005 Doom movie, which I also went to the theater to see, which was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. It didn't really. It wasn't even. It had nothing to do with the game.
And come on, the last 10 minutes. We're in the last 10 minutes.
Right, when he passes out or whatever, he wakes up and it's in a first-person view, the audience
Graphics were so
nuts. Good. Yeah, it's like, I mean, the audience was just like crazy because it was like
That's
up until
service.
then. Exactly. It was like up until then, it had nothing to do with the game until that point. It was just a terrible horror sci-fi movie. So, yeah, it's got to be hard to do. But again, I use the Halo TV show as an example where that's just it's bad writing. Period. It doesn't matter what it's attached to, and B, it's so far removed from the game, it hardly can be seen as an addition to. You know what I mean? Kind of like Spirits Within. I mean, it was just so far removed from actual Final Fantasy that. Why did it have the Final Fantasy name on it? Why does Halo have the this TV show? Why do they even call it Halo?
I also remember the Monster Hunter movie. That is far removed.
Oh man,
I completely forgot about that until we started talking Capcom.
Yeah, that was that was terrible, but it was fun to watch. That's who makes this.
Oh, you watched it?
Yeah, I did. Wasn't
that the Resident Evil guy?
Yeah, it's J. Wes Anderson. Is that who it is? J. something Anderson. It's Mila Jovovich's husband, basically. Yeah. So that's why she's in all the movies. But yeah, it was ridiculous and stupid, but it was a fun, goofy movie to watch. Unrecognizable really to the game itself. Yeah. And it just makes you wonder, why some of these people make the game. The first Resident Evil movie, I thought was probably more aligned with the series of games than any of the other Resident Evil.
Well, because it just starts spinning off, I feel, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's in a mansion. It's very mysterious. And then the Umbrella Corporation is introduced, and they're evil, and then all the zombies come out. I mean, that's really all you needed for that first movie. But after that, it just went kind of on its own. And it seems like maybe they just want that name. They buy that name and say, hey, we're going to make this movie or this TV show or something with this name in it, having no intention of keeping it, true to the material.
Yeah.
I don't know. But previously I talked about a book from The Division, and I actually found it. Yeah, it's called New York Collapse. And if you can see, unfortunately for our audio listeners, they're going to have to use their imagination. But
there's like a burnt hole in one of the pages.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, a couple of them.
Yeah, there's like a transit card, and you got like a page torn out of a book that was a clue. There's a missing person.
What is the purpose of that book? What is the purpose of it?
To read.
Oh, so
it's kind of like a memoir.
Yeah, it is. It's actually a character in the game, and there's a map.
It's a regular character too.
It is, yeah. You actually have a mission with that character in the game, and it's just her account of what happened. And I wanted to show this because this is kind of like you've got like these handwritten notes, so it's like there's documented stuff. So it's a guide for like handling a situation like a catastrophe, and it actually is a real book on like, here's how to make a fire. Here's how to get gasoline out of a car. Things like that. But what comes with it is, these little, like, the cover's torn. It looks like it's burned. It's been dragged. The pages are worn. There's some notes in the back. Those kind of things. I love those kind of things because it is an extension of the story, and it brings that game into something you can hold in your hands.
Yeah.
And becomes part of it. So...
Yeah, Nate, do you have a novel that you also like? Because you guys read more than I do, by the way. So
you'd be surprised. What is that?
Okay.
Pit Boy? Is that a Pit Boy?
That's a Pit Boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's something you can hold. It's all
right.
IRL.
I have an answer for Thick. I remember I read the Jurassic Park novel that was based off the movie. It was based off the movie.
Wait, what?
Okay.
You know how they do like No, aren't there some books that are like...
Yes.
Like, obviously, this is based off Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park, but then there are some books that are like, this is based off the movie that you saw in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, you can get the novelization
That's what I got.
the book. I mean, of the movie.
Yeah.
So there was two. So there was the book.
Yeah, if you're a
then
serious
there was the movie,
reader...
and then there's the novelization.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
So, I mean, and I do know that Jurassic Park was a Sega Genesis game, so I did fulfill my obligations. Thick. I did fulfill them.
To an extent.
I still have the original novelization of the first Star Wars movie that was written by George Lucas.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's worthless.
Okay.
But I still have it.
Oh.
But yeah, it's some of those are good. I remember the movie Aliens. My uncle read the book right before the movie came out. And I went over and he said, "Oh my God, this movie's going to be great." And he just told me the entire movie. And I'm like, wow, thanks. I appreciate that. But I still enjoyed it.
Can, as a side note, Thick, I'm not hijacking your topic here. As a side note, I found something. I've unlocked a key of human nature. Do you want me to tell you it?
Yeah, tell me.
Every person on this planet likes telling people the summary of a movie they just saw.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, you can go up to anyone being like, "Oh, I haven't seen that movie yet. Can you tell me what happens in it?" Everyone will take 5 minutes to tell you it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I personally like listening to it.
Spoils it?
Well, what they'll do is they'll ask you, "Do you really want me to spoil the ending?" And depending on if you're going to see it, yes or no, But I just never get anyone being like, "I'm really not going to tell you the synopsis of that movie." No one does that.
Yeah,
Usually
I think you're right.
Just say, see it. Go and see it. That's...
Right. Yeah.
But that depends on how well you know each other, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not going up to random people on like in the public.
Yeah, you can't trust them to not just tell you the
right.
The twist or the ending or whatever.
Those people shopping for produce at the grocery store, you can't trust those people.
Yeah,
right.
You can't trust those people.
Okay. One thing, another question for you guys: what video game movies are you guys looking forward to, or video game shows that you're looking towards in the future?
I got an answer.
What is the answer?
All right, I think his name is Jordan Voight Roberts, and he's making a Metal Gear Solid movie. Now, this has been, like the last 5 years, he says like, "I'm working on a script. I'm hoping it gets greenlit," and like Hideo Kojima's like kind of like gives him thumbs up on it.
Right.
There's pictures of him like putting his arms around Kojima and stuff. So that's the one that I would actually care about.
That would be pretty cool. That would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and he seems like he's a director. Like I feel like a lot of these directors aren't gamers. And his like gamer cred is solid. So he's like, "No, I really want to get the vibe of Metal Gear Solid down." Which that game obviously had a very unique vibe to it, right?
Yeah.
But anything other than that, I'm not interested. Like the Horizon stuff, don't care. I don't care about any of this stuff.
Gran Turismo.
Yeah, no.
Oh boy, can't wait. Legolas is in it.
I do like Neil Blomkamp movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say that he's a huge gamer.
Yeah.
Did he do a video game movie?
He's doing Gran Turismo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is he? Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and there's another movie that was kind of, they kind of solidified it during Comic-Con, Borderlands by Eli Roth.
Yeah. That's gonna be terrible.
I feel like the tone of that franchise is like unappealing to me now.
Because
It's like well, how do you describe the tone of the Borderland franchise? Like kind of like toxic cartoon or
Yeah, it's kind of like
Maybe.
everything I hate about Twitter put in the game.
Yeah, it's
put
like
in a game
everyone's just
form.
kinda-
Yeah,
it
everyone
kind of
has so
makes
much-
fun of it.
yeah, it does. Right.
when it does it.
I know what you
don't know.
mean by the humor, though.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I'm not foreseeing the same humor translating to the movie. I just, for some reason,
That would be smart.
Yeah.
And keep it more of just. It would. I mean, if you
Yeah.
just keep it of like a different type of humor.
we do know that they had a new Tales of the Borderlands game, which I feel like is tonally different from the actual
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Borderlands shooter games.
Yeah, I think that humor is in a game. It gets fatigued.
Kinda grating.
Yeah, it gets fatigued. It's just
Right.
it's a little too much when it's a little sparse and varied. It's better. But yeah, it's just I couldn't play 3. It's just terrible.
Really.
Yeah, I don't
I mean,
have.
do you guys like Eli Roth or nah?
He's
what
a
else
horror
is-
movie director, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
what has he
mostly.
done besides Saw? Because I'm not a fan of those movies.
Inglorious Bastard.
He did no.
No, that wasn't him.
Tarantino.
That was Tarantino.
Oh, that was. Oh yeah, you're right. Never mind.
He did. I thought he did like a grindhouse film with Tarantino, like that Machete. Was that Eli Roth?
Oh, I thought that was
With,
Robert
Danny.
Rodriguez.
Remember there were 2 of those movies that came out like 6 months
Yeah.
apart. They were the 2 grindhouse movies.
Oh yeah, the one with Kurt Russell and one
What was
with
that one?
that was one was Robert Rodriguez and one was who was the other guy? Well, I think it was Tarantino. Tarantino did one, and I don't know. Again, we're turning into a movie podcast.
Yeah, that's pretty
my
much
memory,
what
Our true
my memory
passion.
fails
It's
me.
our true
yeah,
passion.
Yeah, well, I love movies.
he did. Cabin Fever.
Hostel. He did Hostel.
Hostel.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Death Wish. Yeah, a lot of horror.
yeah. Those are good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd that he's doing a Borderlands movie. I wonder what his take is going to be on Borderlands
Yeah.
itself. Does that mean that he is a fan of the series and a gamer? I feel like maybe.
He might be.
Who knows?
I don't know. You can always tell, when the guys when they get it, when they get the move. I mean, when they get the game, you can tell. You can also tell when they don't. So
Who directed the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies?
Sam Raimi.
And Sam Raimi's a horror guy, right?
No, he used to be. Yeah.
He used to be. But like I thought Spider-Man was like, okay, I'm stepping out of horror. I'm going to start making like a wider variety of movies. Unless I'm wrong. I don't really know.
Yeah,
anything about
he did several movies before that were
Okay.
not horror, but
Okay.
that's how he got his name was definitely doing
Right.
horror.
it. Right.
But yeah, he did a fantastic. He
I
also
think
did.
we just came.
He also
go ahead.
did. He did Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse. He directed that one as well.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
So I don't think there's anything I'm looking forward to as far as like movie, TV show. I haven't watched The Last of Us on HBO because I feel like if it's true to the game, then I mean,
Kind of
Not
whatever.
yeah, I mean, I'm good.
Thick,
But-
have you seen that one?
I'm still like kind of far off on it.
Are you?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
oh.
not in the mood to watch something just utterly depressing.
Depressing, yeah.
Yeah.
So I know there's a Days Gone movie that's expected.
Really?
Yeah, I think. I mean, there's not too much details on it. So, but there's talks of
yeah.
it, and also we know there's the Five Nights at Freddy's.
That's
Have
a
you
movie
seen the
coming out.
trailer?
No.
Yeah. That could make a
it's-
good movie. Did you see the Nicolas Cage movie? Now I can't remember the name of it. It's basically Five Nights at Freddy. He's tasked with staying at this, abandoned anima pizza place. And they come alive, and anyway, it's a funny movie. He doesn't say one word in the whole movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's pretty
wow.
cool. But yeah, I could see that turning into a good movie.
They probably got him on discount, right?
Maybe.
It's like you buy packages. You buy
It's like
tiers
that's
of.
how. Ooh, what if you don't say anything?
I'll charge half.
Right there, you go.
Yeah.
But
All right. Well, yeah, that's all I got. So
I just and I respect it. I respect your position, Thick, that we're not going from game to from movie to game, right? Because everyone does that. Everyone does that.
Everyone does that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to highlight the reverse.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Fair
it's
enough.
not as popular. So
Right. Well, I have a feeling, obviously this podcast probably has a 20-year trajectory.
Right.
Over the next 20 years, we're probably going to be hit with a few more of these movies or TV shows. Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
And only 1% of them will be good.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably.
Yeah, it's going to be Metal Gear Solid. Yes.
That would make a good movie. If they make it just
know.
like a little bit campy,
Oh, can I?
and then like
No,
super.
stop.
Yeah.
Not campy, serious, Scott.
Yeah, it
Not
would be
campy.
serious, but just the humor of it would be just a little bit off. You know what I mean? Like,
Scott, give me an example. What is the move? What is the tone of a movie you're talking about? Because I don't like that word campy when describing Metal Gear.
okay, like say a guard is walking like down the hall, right, and it's in like a
You want the
shopping
exclamation
mallish.
mark?
That's where I'm going, but it's like the mall is
Tarantino.
the mall is just about to open. And he hears something and turns around. And as soon as he stops and turns around, it's above a neon sign that happens to have an exclamation point at the end of it, right over his head as he turns around and goes, "Huh?" Just you see what I'm saying? Like little nods to the
If
I was thinking more like a security guy, and like he turns around and the screen has an exclamation mark on it. So,
Yeah. Actually,
Similar.
you know what? I want Christopher Nolan. I want a Christopher Nolan toned movie with Metal Gear Solid. In fact, I want him to direct it.
Okay, that's where we differ. I think it should
That's where we
have.
differ.
I think it should be
Some
a
fun in there.
little. Yeah, I think it should be fun. Not like too fun, but
All right.
not super.
Yeah, maybe the
super
Death Stranding
serious.
movie should be serious, right?
That's right. I
like you
forgot
guys
they
a
were
little
making the
less.
movie.
That's right.
I hear they are too. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, no, just don't.
By the way,
do it.
this is my last comment on movies. So, all the trailers I saw in Oppenheimer, like 20 trailers. The Meg 2, the Meg about that shark?
Yeah,
That looked legit fun.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
even
yeah.
like fun movies, but that was so absurd that I'm like, that actually looks like a
You've seen the
theater
first
movie.
one, right?
I saw parts of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I saw
it's
it on
good.
like the airplane. So
Really.
yeah.
yeah.
A lot in that trailer. A lot of people get eaten by that shark.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
so, usually when you think of those trailers, it's like they're about to get eaten. No, in the trailer
No.
they get eaten.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the first
Guys-
one was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's going to complete our podcast. I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scott, can you do your duty and tell listeners how they interact with us or
They
reach
can
us?
interact by leaving a comment right below on our YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, no way.
Yes.
And you can also find us. The audio version will be on pretty much everything: Apple, Google, Spotify. It hits Spotify first, so go ahead and get Spotify so you can be the first one to hear it.
Yeah.
And hit us up on Twitter and say hello and leave a comment and tell us how we're doing and give us a topic.
We also accept insults.
Yes.
Sure.
I think that's a big thing.
Plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty.
I mean, that's what Twitter's for.
And this is my favorite part of the podcast where Thick takes us to school.
Yes, mine too.
He gives us a nice a piece of broccoli, and then we just chew on it quietly.
Okay, so then I have to pick a serious one, kind of like a. Okay.
Thick, first of all, me and Scott are giving you homework. You got to listen to the last 10 minutes of the last podcast. Just listen to the
Yeah.
last 10 minutes, all right? Maybe even the last 5 minutes.
I took up the mantle last
Yeah.
last
All
week.
right.
So
All right. I'll check the last podcast next time.
okay.
And I'll have words. I would say, okay, the quote this week: "A guest who comes empty-handed does not deserve a warm welcome."
Oh, interesting. That's good.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a welcome mat that says that.
Do you guys abide by that when you get invited to someone else's house? Do you bring
Oh, I always
a little
take something. Yeah.
You always take someone? Thick?
I don't.
Oh,
What?
Thick is on his journey. He's on an individual journey where he's
Yeah,
growing.
yeah.
He's a little sapling. He's a little sapling right now.
Yeah.
A warm welcome is not great in this weather. I'll tell you that much. So,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
well,
good,
that's
Vic.
true too. Yeah.
That's an excellent. Is that a pun? Is that a pun?
maybe.
It's kind of a
Maybe.
pun.
I learned from the best. I learned from you guys. So.
All right, everyone. See you next Monday.
All right.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.